Hello and welcome everybody. Today we're talking about Friendship is Magic, Season 1, Episode 14, Suited for Success. Now this is one of my favorite episodes. It'd probably be in my top 10. I really love this. I've said repeatedly, in fact I said in the very last episode, that Applejack and Rarity kind of tie for my favorite character in the series. And this is like such peak Rarity episode. So Rarity is making dresses, doing her thing, you know, running her fashion business, and all of her friends, it's almost like a curtain call, they all come by and casually drop the fact that they do not have a dress for the Grand Galloping Gala. Remember, we mentioned that in episode 3, Ticketmaster, and how that was going to build up and eventually become a big deal as we approach the end of Season 1. Well, here it is. We're actually getting some more build-up for it. We gotta have dresses for the gala because this is a show for little girls and every so often they have to remind you of that. However, one of the wonderful things that they do in this show is Hasbro would often hand them down mandates. You have to do this or that. So there's probably a mandate that they had to have some sort of ball so that they could have fancy princess dresses for all of their toys. Now, within that, apparently they had a lot of free reign, and this kind of shows through this episode, and I'll get into that more. So Rarity decides, I'm going to make a dress, a brand new original dress, to match each of your personalities and your mane and coat colors.
You absolutely must wear formal attire. Nah.
And we're going to do it all within this incredibly tight time frame because there's just no time, even though the Grand Galloping Gala doesn't happen for another like 13 episodes after this. And that's when we get an introduction to Daniel Ingram's incredible ability to compose great music for this show. I know there are some fans, apparently, who really don't like the music in this show. Since the music is such a big part, I kind of question how, but I love the music in this show. Winter Wrap-Up is an earworm, admittedly, and it's an annoying earworm. It stays stuck in my head through all of the months of spring. Starting from Art of the Dress and working our way forward, I can think of maybe 2 songs in the whole series, maybe 3, that are really underwhelming. Everything else feels like you could take the music and make a fantastic musical out of it. Like, it's pretty high quality, and I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that Daniel Ingram clearly loves a lot of great composers, and this is our first intro to that, because this song is based on a song from Sunday in the Park with George. Just listen and tell me you can't hear how clearly one was an homage to the other.
Bit by bit, putting it together.
Thread by thread, stitching it together.
Every moment makes a contribution. Every little detail plays a part.
Cutting out the pattern snip by snip, making sure the fabric falls nicely.
Having division's no solution. Everything depends on execution.
Always gotta keep in mind my pacing, making sure the clothes correctly facing.
Now, obviously, this is a really cool little joke for any adults watching, and so I caught that the first time I watched it, and I was like, wow, I can't believe they referenced something like that in a kid's show. But it seems to be a motif that songs that have to do with the gala are based on Sondheim musicals, because later we get an homage to Into the Woods, again, focusing entirely around the gala. So Rarity makes 6 stunning dresses, and her friends don't like the dresses. That was kind of a nice little subversion of your expectation, because you kind of have an idea of where this is going based on the kids' shows you've seen in the past, and then when they turn around and all the friends are just really brutally honest and like, yeah, I don't like it.
And we're plumb grateful because you worked so hard on them.
Mine's just not as cool as I was imagining.
That's actually a nice, refreshing change of pace. Then we get a reprise of Art of the Dress, where Rarity makes dresses exactly to their specification, and they are the most horrendous pieces of garbage you've ever seen. But they're really funny pieces of garbage. They have a little fashion show, and all of the girls kind of have this moment of realization like, oh, we made a mistake. And now that everybody is looking at us, it's really clear that we should have just let the fashion designer make us something fashionable.
You think we overdid it?
Nah. Okay.
Might be a little.
Now, this is really quite hard on Rarity because hoity-toity, one of the big wigs of the fashion world, happens to be invited, and he comes and he sees these ugly dresses and determines that Rarity might be like the worst designer who ever lived. Which is valid after seeing that, if that's the only exposure you have. So Rarity is terribly depressed, and it leads to some of the funniest lines on the whole show. It is the reason I say this is one of my favorite episodes, is just how funny it is. Taking away the fact that the music is really good. And there's also, of course, the iconic meme.
The shape's fine, just make the whole thing, cooler. It needs to be about 20% cooler.
But as I was saying, Rarity is always the most funny of the ponies. I mean, Rarity is the only one of these characters that I don't think they've ever made a joke with her that I've not laughed at. And some of them I laugh hard. And it just, so much of it is down to Tabitha St. Germain's incredible line delivery.
I used to be some pony. I used to be respected. I made dresses, beautiful, beautiful dresses. Do ponies wallow in pity? Oh, listen to me. I don't even know what I'm supposed to wallow in. I'm so pathetic.
So in a great little payoff of something that seems like a throwaway joke, Fluttershy turns out to actually be a great seamstress, and she sews Rarity's gala dress together exactly the way she wanted it, so her friends made her the dress of her dreams. Isn't that nice? Kids show, happy ending, right?
Oh, I forgive you.
Well, that's mighty big of you.
But my whole career is still ruined.
Oh, right.
To this day, I've seen this episode like a million times, and that still cracks me up. Let's watch it again.
Well, that's mighty big of you.
But my whole career is still ruined.
Oh, right.
I'm telling you, it's Tabitha St. Germain's line delivery. It makes Rarity's character. So anyway, they invite Hoity-Toity back, which, aside from being one of the best pony names, is really hard to say. He comes and they introduce him to all of the beautiful dresses she had originally made. And of course, he's super impressed because they are actually gorgeous dresses. Like, in terms of just like cartoons, they might be the coolest dresses I've ever seen. And there's a second Grand Galloping Gala later in the series, and the dresses are not nearly as impressive. I mean, they really put in some hard work to design some beautiful dresses for this episode. So Rarity's reputation is saved, and her friends learn a valuable lesson. They act like the lesson is, don't look a gift horse in the mouth, which, okay, in this universe, surely should be racist, but they act like that's the lesson. Like, if somebody's willing to do something nice for you, don't be too picky, and to be sure, you can get that lesson out of this. But I actually think that there's also a lesson to be learned about trusting the expertise of your friends and acknowledging that they might just know better than you sometimes. Which is a hard lesson for anybody to learn. I appreciate that. But it's an important one if you want to live any kind of good life. There's also a line in the song where the girls tell Rarity to make sure that she stays within their budget, which means that even if they're not paying Rarity for her labor, they are paying for all of the materials, which does kind of confuse the lesson if the lesson is supposed to be don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I mean, yes, she's gifting them with her time, but clearly they are paying for the materials, at the very least. So yeah, I really just feel like the message should have been more about trusting your friends with their expertise level rather than trying to make it about gifts, which again, whether or not this is technically a gift is actually kind of confused. So I actually think they should have focused more on that. However, it's a perfectly serviceable lesson for kids. If somebody does something nice for you, don't be too picky about it. Lesson learned. So that's all I have for today. Thank you everybody for watching. God bless you, and I will see you in the next one.